Welcome to my UTA Miler race recap for May 2026. Thanks if you have been following along on my epic miler journey for the last 6 months. Race weekend started on the Thursday when we travelled up from Sydney to Katoomba and settled into our cosy Airbnb. We then headed down to our favourite part of the weekend, and that's check-in and the expo. Check-in was very smooth and not much of a wait, which was great, and walked through the merchandise shop and brought a few goodies. And then headed over to the expo in the Athlete Village, where we cruised around and looked at some of the products on display. I spoiled myself and bought a couple of pair of Buddha sunglasses, as I have a habit of leaving them in random places on my training runs. We stayed for the Miler Q&A and listened to what the race director and Ali Pottinger had to say, which ramped up the excitement and the nerves. It was then back to the Airbnb to sort out all my equipment and then on to meet some friends for dinner at the RSL. Friday saw race morning with a 3 a.m. alarm wake up. Not a very good sleep, unfortunately. We drove the 20 minutes to the start line at Gobbett's Leap. It was rainy and drizzly and dark. I couldn't decide whether I wanted to start the race in a t-shirt, rain jacket or thermal. I decided on the thermal. I was so nervous, but was welcomed by a few good lucks from people, which was so nice.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
The race started with the ridiculous up and back to the Heritage Centre, then out onto the Gobbett's track towards the Grand Canyon Loop. This was very slow going. It was a conga line of people, not quite a bottleneck, as we were continuously moving, but definitely walking speed, which was a little frustrating as this section was quite runnable. It wasn't until we hit the stairs coming out of the Grand Canyon Loop that people started to run, which left me at the back of the pack. As you already know, stairs are not my friend, but I settled into a rhythm with my back of the pack friends and arrived back at the Gobbett's Leap car park where Chris was waiting. I didn't need anything at this point, so said hello and then continued on to Allview Escape and Perry's Lookdown. Just before Allview Escape, there was a guy playing the didgeridoo out on the rocky outcrop, which was so cool as I had missed out on the didgeridoo guy last year at the Iron Pot Ridge for the 100k. I knew I was behind schedule at Perry's Lookdown for 30 minutes before cutoff and the sweeper appeared. Again, I went straight through this checkpoint without stopping and continued on down the 2 kilometres of stairs to the creek and up the other side. This was tough going, but I didn't do too bad. Not my best time, but I think I didn't embarrass myself. I kept moving and didn't stop. The sweeper was very kind and offered to take some photos of me at the top. My first disheartening moment was when the volunteer told me I had to do an out and back up to Lockley's Pylon. For some reason, I didn't realise I had to do this and knew this would put me at least 20 minutes behind schedule. Anyway, I moved on and approached the Fortress Ridge checkpoint where they told me I only had 30 seconds to cross the timing mat and I couldn't come back to the checkpoint to grab any water or food. So I made the decision to kick on and pray I had enough water to keep going, as this was the 30k mark. So close to cut off, it wasn't funny. Bruce's track again was my undoing. I had done this section twice and knew what was coming. Although it's 2 small inclines on the Strava map, it's so very, very deceptive. With the rain we had all week, it made this section very treacherous and slow. They had installed ropes with knots on them to get down some of those goat track type trails and embankments to get down to the creek. And then up the other side, it was so muddy they had put in ramps and wooden boards and even some astroturf. There was one section on the second incline where they had placed ropes again, and also a pallet with a crate on it to assist in getting up and over a massive boulder, which unfortunately didn't help me with my short legs, and I decided to squeeze between the 2 boulders and clamber up the other side. As I had done on a previous recce, I knew I could get up this way. All this took time and delayed me all up. As I headed out of Bruce's track and onto the road section, towards the checkpoint at the Hydro Majestic, I started to try and work out my timings. I had 5k of road section. It was going to be so close. It was starting to get dark. I called Chris, who who was waiting for me at the Hydro to see if we could problem solve this. I really needed time at this checkpoint to refuel and have some real food and change my shoes, which were wet, and the clothes, as I would be heading into the night. So I thought maybe I could eat at this checkpoint and then change my shoes at the next checkpoint, which was 8k up the road at Narrowneck. So I suggested this to Chris, that this might have to be the plan going forward, but it soon became reality that I wouldn't even have time to do that. I put my head torch on as I came into this checkpoint and knew I had missed cutoff by about 10 minutes. I was disappointed, as I honestly felt capable of continuing. I knew this first section would be the toughest for me, and the rain the previous week making the course muddy and slippery didn't help. There were some friends waiting for me at this checkpoint, cheering me in, so it was nice to have the love and support, even though it wasn't my day to finish this race. I have spent the last 2 weeks since the race deconstructing everything from where I could have made up time here and there to my overall training program for the last 6 months. And maybe it wasn't quite what it should have been, and have been seeking inspiration from anywhere and everywhere. From quotes in books, I found a good one in a Lura gift shop that said, "Courage is going from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm." I thought that pretty much described me to a T. I've been listening to running podcasts and social media, and it was like it was all out there in the universe. Everything had a meaning and was directed at me and my journey. Anyway, I completed 47.46 kilometres with 2,413 metres of elevation gain in 13.07 hours according to Strava. There were over 400 entrants to the UTA Miler, and about 116 of those people DNF'd, so I was in pretty good company. I've had so much fun on filming this miler journey, and that training that I have put in, the countless weekends travelling to the Blue Mountains for a training session, the laughs, the tears and the frustrations. So thanks for following along on my journey. Please subscribe if you want to see more videos of me. We have another one coming up in about another 6 months, so I will talk about that in my next video. I'll let you know what's going on there, and see if any of you are doing the same one. Okay, thanks guys.